Hello, I'm Patrick Howell here to present my slideshow made in C++ for the procedural programming course Met 3 AUCPH. Initially, we have our int main here, setting up the window in which the slideshow will be presented, setting up the resolution 600 x 600, something I've chosen as proper for my presentation, and as well as the starting of the actual slideshow. Now, our main class here we'll be including the library from Open Frameworks, and here we set up the function called setup that initializes the various values, meaning that we have our various pictures loaded here in load image, also in fact from the Open Frameworks library, and then we have where to grab it from the images section in the Open Frameworks, and the name that I've given it, and the picture type that I've saved it as. In this case, JPG or JPEG. Now, next we have the array containing the various chars. Here we have the 600 x 600 value in regards to the resolution, as well as the ×3. Noteworthy is that the ×3 is for the effect of involving the three colors red, green, and blue. The .getPixels is also part of the Open Frameworks library. And here we see our various values within this array, all the pictures that I've chosen to put into my slideshow, and their placements in the array. Down here we have the texture set, also GL graphics library, red, green, and blue RGB. And we set the counter to 0.0. For this counter, I'm not really using it. That's noteworthy, so actually just remove that, but I'll just leave it for now. And then we have our picture set to 0, starting at picture 0. And then we set alpha to -1, however, seeing since I want my first picture in the slideshow to stay stationary for a brief moment before changing to the next picture, so that it doesn't start the slideshow by just switching to the next picture in the line instantly. Here we set up the function update, which starts the variables of the slideshow, moving from picture to picture. So first we have our alpha. This is set to how fast I want my effect to take place. So if I'm making a fade effect, if I set this to 0.01, it will fade quicker. However, I think that this pace that I've chosen here is more appropriate. So this is the speed in which the effect takes place. We set up the if statement of how long we want the picture to stay in place before moving on to the next. I've set mine to 20. It varies slightly regarding how quickly the computer you're working with. Then we have the picture ++, saying that whatever picture in the array we start out with, we move on to the next and the next and the next, and so forth, up until it restarts. And finally we have the alpha set to 0.0 at this point, when this if statement begins. Alright, we have the if statement, which allows the picture, the initial picture, to stay in place for a brief moment before moving on to the next one in the row. We need to make an if statement and a for loop for when alpha is less than 0, which it is in the beginning, -1, in order for this to actually access the rest of the programming. So if we set this to -1 but do not include this initial for loop, it will never actually grab this value and get started. So we set it to this, and then we go down here and we have the texture.load data, our data type that we choose to call data, which is simply something that is stored. It stores data in the off texture case. Okay, and next we have the initializing of the effects in the slideshow. The first one being when the alpha value reaches a value higher than 0. It's when we've gone from a -1 moving on to the next picture. We have the switching between the two effects using a modulus 2, which means that it goes from 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Whenever modulus 2 pick modulus 2 is equal to 0, it will take the fade effect, which is here, and whenever it's 1, or in my case else, if it's not 0, it'll go to the other effect. If I chose to make more effects than 2, I would have set modulus 3 or modulus 4 regarding considering how many effects I would be including. Now, what happens here for the fade effect is that we have our pixels, our pixel array, that having our programming go through every pixel in the picture of our slideshow piece by piece, bit by bit, or piece by piece, whatever you want to call it. And we have our picture plus 1, which means the next picture in the row moving in and going closer to alpha here. So alpha becomes closer and closer to 1, making the new picture coming forward more and more sharp and clear in the, what would you say, texture. More clear and more sharply to view, easy to view. However you want to formulate it. While the next picture goes -1 alpha, which means that it alpha moves more and more towards 0, making it transparent. And so we have one picture fading out and another one fading into its place at the same time. Else we have the instant change, saying that I want immediately having one picture, when moving to the next picture, simply switch between them. And these are the two effects that I've included in my slideshow. And then again we have the data class, the data type called data, being stored in off texture. Finally, we have the printing of the pictures in the slideshow set up here, saying that print of the picture. Sorry. We've chosen to call this function draw. Yeah, so right away, I suppose. Moving on to the second class, we have here included library of main.h, also from Open Frameworks, as I believe. And then, oh, that's not supposed to be there. We set the class. These aren't really used much, however, the actual program still goes into listen for them. So I've chosen to keep them here. And here we define some additional public variables, as I've written here, derp. And we set up the pictures as public variables. We set up the pictures as public variables so I can call them from here at any point in time in my main class. And here we have the public some additional public variables, and namely the pixels, the array with my 10 pictures in it, as well as the data type, which is being stored here. And now finally I'll show you the functioning slideshow with my two effects, fade and instant change, with the first picture staying in place for a brief moment before switching on to the next. Just start it here. These are 10 pieces of artwork that I myself have made. Hope you enjoy. and we're back to the beginning. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you some other time.